Hello and welcome to part 7 of powering up your home office lights using Power Platform. After building a couple of flows for getting the access token and the configuration for the user and whitelisting the user and getting a username, which we later can use to query the Hue remote API, we can finally move over to the PowerApp. The PowerApp will be the user front for all this setting up the configuration for the Hue remote API, but also where we will control the lights, see the status, set light status, and so on in the coming parts. So if we have a look at the PowerApp, I've created the PowerApp as a canvas app in the phone layout because I also wanted to be able to use this on my phone. After setting up the PowerApp with some nice background, some layout, some frames, a logo if you want, and everything, then we can see that we can start building and getting data inside that PowerApp. In the beginning of the section here, I have the configuration data I retrieved from the flow we looked at in the last part. So what you need first is that you need some way to trigger that flow. So you can do that by a refresh button, for example, as I have done here, a refresh icon. I have selected an onSelect event for, where I run that Hue get access token and config flow, which we created in the previous part. But I also need to store that output for that flow. It will respond an output back to the PowerApp, and I choose to use the set function to set that to my variable. In this case, I call it Hue response. Let's have a look at that variable. If I go to View and Variables, then I will see I have the Hue response there. It's a record type variable, and I can look at the values for that currently. So I have the access token. This is something I have hidden in my PowerApp. It's not visible directly in the PowerApp, but I need to use it from time to time. And then I have the configuration data, for example, the name of my Hue bridge and IP address and so on, and also the username, which is my whitelist identifier. Having that variable, I can now reference it. For example, for these different text labels I have created here. So I just select the attribute value from the record variable, like this. And for the Hue name, I've set up an if statement. So I'm looking into if there are an access token, if that is blank, then I can say Hue is not connected. And if the username is blank, then I will say connection to Hue okay, we have an access token, but you have not linked the user yet. Or if not, I will just respond with the name of the bridge, like this. So this is the refresh, and I've connected it. You can see that also if you go to the action menu and you can click on Power Automate, and you see that the flow has been associated with that refresh icon. And then I can, if I hadn't done that, I can add it from here. I also, on the app itself, I have an onStart event where I also set the same Hue response. Usually when I design PowerApps, I start with manually doing refreshing, and then when I see it consistently working, and then I connect it to different events for screen visible, on start, and so on for the app. The other flow we looked at in the previous part was enabling link button and whitelisting the user. So this is that flow, and I have connected it to Power Automate and the Hue link and whitelist flow. When I click on that link button, I will just select onSelect. Then I will also fill the Hue response variable, but then in this case I'm running the Hue link and whitelist user, and I will submit the access token from the Hue response. So if I don't have an access token from the configuration here, then I need to set up the configuration first. But if I have the access token, but the user is not linked, then I can click on this button, this image here, which I have the onSelect event for. So quite simple process. A few words about this middle one. You remember from the earlier parts, I built the logic app for authorizing, the first time authorizing to Phillips Hue, getting the first bearer token, setting the secret in the key vault and so on. So I've just created an image here, which I can select from the onSelect event, that I launch my web browser, and then I launch the URL for the authorization endpoint at Remote Hue API. And here I include my client ID and the other parameters that I need for actually getting that app connected to the Hue Remote API. So this is the way to do a first time setup to get the access token really set up for my application. So this is what I will focus on for this blog part. In the blog post accompanying this video, you will see all the steps needed for setting this up. And tomorrow we will look into the next part of the PowerApp, which is configuring the light sources and setting and getting light status. So stay tuned for that. Thanks.